Okay, hello everyone. Can everyone hear me? Those of you in the back, is it good? Is it way too loud or is it good? It's good? Awesome, okay. All right, we're gonna get things started here. So if you can, find a seat and make it easy for everyone to hear and see, that'd be great. So let me start by welcoming all of you to the hackathon. It's great to be back here and to be able to meet in person again. We met for the first time in person after not meeting for a couple years, right, in Vienna, and we had, I think, about 100 or so people there. I think looks like we're going to have about double that here. So that's fantastic to see. I'm super excited about it. I hope you are too. Just wanted to get a quick show of hands for how many of you this is your first time at an IETF hackathon? Okay. I thought there were a lot of faces I didn't recognize, and part of it I thought was because of masks and COVID, but yeah, we actually do have a lot of new people. So welcome. I hope this is a great experience for you. I hope you really enjoy it. We're a great group of people here at the hackathon, so feel free to reach out to those around you. And those of you who saw another newcomer here, maybe just go that little extra step to introduce yourself and help make sure that everyone gets involved in a project. That'd be great. And then, so how many of you, this is your first time to ever be at any type of IETF event? It's, almost the same, yeah, okay. Well, I think you came to the right place. I'm a little biased because I've been running the hackathon for a while now. But I think it's a great introduction into the IETF and a great way to, really start getting involved right away around code that's implementing the standards we're doing. That's a big part of the hackathon. So I think you made a great choice, and I'm glad you're here. And then, COVID, things are getting better every day still, fortunately, some up and downs. But I'm wondering how many of you, this is your first time at an in-person event since COVID hit? So we have a number of that too. So, I'm glad you're here. For those of you who have had a little bit more experience with this, think back to the first time you were at an in-person event since COVID started. And so, we all have different comfort levels with COVID. And, the IETF meeting, we have some pretty strict rules that are a little stricter than what you may be used to at conferences. It's okay to not wear a mask when you're presenting. So like when I'm presenting today or tomorrow when we do the presentations, it's okay to not wear a mask, obviously, when you're eating or drinking, but we have been asked to wear masks otherwise. So when you're in this room, when you're working, try to keep your mask on unless you're eating or drinking. When you leave the room and go out into the hallway, please make sure you have a mask on. We're trying to keep masks, within the IETF venue as much as possible. So just to keep us all safe, since there will thankfully be a large number of us here. So, let's do what we can to follow those rules, and especially for those people who this is their first event since COVID, make it a little bit easier for them too, but really easier for all of us. So, the reason we're here is, I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, this is really, we want to advance the pace and relevance of all the work we do in the IETF. We do a lot of great work with standards. I think our standards, fortunately, get implemented and deployed and run the internet. That's fantastic. But by working on them, by implementing them at the same time that we're writing them and improving them, we really get the best of both worlds, and we make, we create some code that people can use to help them in their deployment. So that's really fantastic. So I'm glad you're here. And also, another big part of the hackathon is to extend the IETF community and to welcome new people into it. And I think you saw with the show of hands, we're doing well in that regard as well. Lars, are you here? Yeah, Lars, I'd like to welcome the IETF chair, Lars, up. He's a huge supporter and participator in the hackathon, and Mike is yours.
Thanks. Yeah. Hi, I'm Lars Egger. I chair the IETF, and thanks, Charles, and thanks all of you for being here. I'm I don't quite remember how long we've been doing hackathons, but it must be well over 10 years now. And I think 2015. So not, it feels like 10 years, but not quite. But they've certainly sort of become like really one of the best events, I think, around the IETF, in my opinion, because this is sort of what it's all about, right? It's like actually getting stuff done and shipped and deployed and interoperable. And while we do that during the week as well, right, there we care mostly about the technical standards and then, you know, writing English that's correct and easy to implement. But here we actually write code, which is a little bit closer to what we all want to do, I think, rather than writing specs. Writing code feels like more fulfilling. I also want to say that we have had a sort of separate event for a while called the IETF Tools Code Sprint, which has been in a different room up until now, sort of as an experiment. This time we sort of relocated that here, so it's the table over there that I'm also hanging out. Those are the people that work on the tools that make the IETF work, the data tracker, XML to RFC, the mail archive, and so on. So if you have an interest in that, come say hi, and if you have bugs, file them, and we'll hopefully get them fixed for you. The other thing I want to mention is that there was a noisy piece of equipment in that corner, the door got closed. So there's a group up here that's doing L4S, which is a new congestion control thing for the internet that originated on the research side a couple of years ago. And it's now sort of getting close to deployment. So there's people from Comcast who are also sponsoring the meeting. I think there's some operators involved. I think BT as well. There's, I think, Apple and Meta and Google and some other people who have end systems. And they're going to try and actually get this to interoperate. So if that's of interest to you, come and say hi. Take a look at the rack. It's pretty impressive. If you want to bring equipment, you can. So this was a good example. Just let us know ahead of time like these guys did, and then we'll figure out how to make that work for you. Otherwise, enjoy the day. Keep your masks on, please. We already had a corona case this morning reported, so it's a thing. It's for your safety. It's for other people's safety. We want to keep the number down. In Vienna, we had, I think, around 5 people over the course of the week, which is a unfortunately high number, but it's actually a low number compared to what the corona people in Vienna were expecting to see. So I'm hoping that we can leave Philadelphia and also have the absolute minimum number of exposures that we can manage for a meeting this size. Enjoy the day, enjoy the company, write some code, and then I'll see you during the week. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lars. Okay, so you know, just a reminder, especially for those of you who are new to IETF, but really for everything, for everyone, everything we do in IETF falls under the note well. It's good to, if you haven't already made yourself familiar with this, it's good to familiarize yourself with it. It talks about the rules and procedures of the IETF, what it means to participate in the IETF. So, you know, good to take a look at that. One thing that it doesn't really, that is a little different though, is around code, because what you present in an IETF meeting, that's all an IETF contribution, but the code that you work on is a little bit different in that there's usually, hopefully, a license associated with it. And so you also need to be aware of the rules and the requirements and the obligations that you have when using that code base and extending that code base. So be sure to pay attention to the license of the code that you're working on, because that code base is not actually an IETF contribution. It's governed by the license of the code that you're working on. But the presentations that we do and that I'm doing now that you'll do tomorrow, hopefully, you know, that does fall under the normal IETF rules and is an IETF contribution. So if you're not familiar with the note well, I recommend you do that. Now, projects. So we have a lot of great projects. You heard about one that I'm super excited, a couple actually, that I'm really excited to have here, the Code Sprint and the L4S project. But we have a lot of other great projects too. They are all listed on the wiki. If you haven't taken a look at all those projects or figured out which one you want to work on, I suggest you do that now. Take a look at the wiki. We have over 20 projects, and the name of the champion and kind of what the project is about is there. And then you can just go find that table and talk with those people. If you are having a hard time finding a project, we have a wiki page called the Lost and Found, and that's kind of to serve a couple purposes. One is if you're looking for people with particular expertise to join your project, you can advertise that there. If you're looking to help a project and you have like some things that you're interested in or skills you can offer, you can put that there as well. So it's to help match people to projects. Okay, the agenda. We are running pretty much on time, and you can see where we are on the agenda. We're doing a quick kickoff here. And then, really this first part of the morning is take some extra time to make sure that we get our teams formed. That, and if you haven't found a team, you can come and you need some help, you can come talk to me, but really talk to those around you. And let's try to make sure that everyone finds a team that they are comfortable in, that they feel they can contribute to, because that's the best way to make the best use of this weekend. If you're struggling with that, don't just stay quiet about it. Reach out and ask for some help. There's many of us here who are familiar with a lot of the people and a lot of the projects and can help you get situated. In order to make it easy for you to continue to work on your projects throughout the day, lunch will be served out where you saw the snacks this morning. We'll have lunch brought in, so we welcome and encourage you to stay here and have lunch with all of us, continue to work on your projects. There'll be some food at breaks, and then we will have dinner too. For those of you who are available to stay and don't already have other plans, we'd love to have you stay and continue to work and network during the evening to have dinner here. And then the room will close at 9, and we'll be pretty strict about that. You're welcome to continue to work on your project outside. You can use the IETF network and all that, but we just need to close this room and let the hotel staff shut it down, and so they can have their their evening wrapped up as well. The next morning, tomorrow, the doors open same time they did today, around 9:30. And you can come in. Lunch will be provided again tomorrow. The main thing I want to call your attention to is that we will be doing these project presentations starting at 2 o'clock, where you can give a brief overview of what you did and what you accomplished and what you learned. Those will start at 2 o'clock. So keep that in mind, that a little bit before 2, or maybe a while before 2, you want to be starting to put together a short presentation. Those are short, just like 4 minutes. I'll talk about those a little bit in a minute, but just in terms of the timing, I wanted to point that out. And then at 4 o'clock, we want to be done here with all those presentations, because there's other activities like newcomers events and the welcome reception. We want to make sure everyone has time to get to those. Yeah, if you did have some equipment that you brought in and you've set it up in here, you can leave it overnight if you're comfortable doing that, but we do ask that by 5 o'clock you have it out of here so this room can be turned over and into the next kind of setup that it's going to have. Any questions about the agenda? Okay. So as we started using Gather as a way to interact, especially with people who aren't here in person, but even for those who are here in person, we have the Gather space that you can go to, and there's kind of the virtual IETF in there. What I'm showing here is from 113, but it'll look very similar for 114. Just don't have the updated slides for that. There is, you'll see some arrows here I lit up in red pointing to where the hackathon room is. There's a virtual hackathon room. If you move over there with your little character, you can go into the hackathon room. The hackathon room looks a little similar to this and has tables, especially if you're working where you have some remote participants in your team. You may want to, and I welcome you to go ahead and pick out one of these tables, and you can kind of assign, you can say, hey, table A is going to be for us, and whatever your team name is, and you can use that as a virtual meeting space where the people here in the room and the people who are working online can have a space to meet, and you can share documents within there, you can share notes. There's some nice capabilities within it to help you collaborate with, especially with remote participants. And I think I forgot to mention it, but there is let me go back to the agenda. there is this team schedule, and you can put down in that team schedule, it's another wiki page, and especially if you have remote participants, it's good to say, well, these particular hours, this is when we're going to have sort of a meeting between the virtual and the people in the room, or for the people who are working virtually, this is the way to communicate with the people in the room. You can use whatever you want. You can use Gather, and I just showed that, and you can pick a table. You can say we're at table A, or you can set up a Zoom session. You can use WebEx. You can do whatever you're comfortable with. Just this team schedule is a way to capture that and share that. So going forward again, we talked about Gather. HackNet, that's another cool capability we have. This lets you connect, especially for people who are remote, to connect into a virtual IETF network. But even for those of you who are here, if you want something special, it effectively is a layer 2 network, and we can offer some interesting capabilities beyond what you would typically get when you just sign in via Wi-Fi to the IETF network, and we can allocate that out to you. So if you have special requirements for your project, which some of you have because you're working on networking protocols, you can make requests to get that set up, and we can get that set up for you. I mentioned the results presentations. So these are very short presentations where you just give a high level of what you tried to do, what you actually accomplished, what you learned, that type of thing. And it's a great way to share just briefly with the IETF community so we have a little bit better understanding of your project. And because we're probably going to have a lot of these and we want to get through them all, we keep them to 4 minutes. And we will be pretty strict on that. We'll probably start a timer. And so, when you're putting these presentations together, I'm giving you a heads up now, do keep them short. Less than 4 minutes is great, but definitely no more than 4 minutes. So just to give us a high level idea of what you accomplished. And I'll talk in a minute about a way you can give like a more extended presentation, but this is kind of the quick one just to introduce people to your project and kind of get, ongoing communication going. Okay, since we are working on code, perhaps you need a place to keep, to kind of host the software you're working on. If you do need a space for your project and you've not already figured out like a place on GitHub or elsewhere to host it, we can create a repo for you within the IETF Hackathon GitHub organization. We're happy to do that. If you want that, you can just come see me or send a message to the Hackathon chairs list, and Barry and I will take care of that. We have a repo set up specifically for the project presentations though. So if you are interested in presenting your project, this is where you will upload that project presentation so that we have all of them available at 2 o'clock tomorrow when it comes time to do those. If you go into that repo, you'll find a couple things. One is a couple templates, which you're welcome to use. One is a HTML template, the other is a PowerPoint template. You can use those as just a template to help you put together your project presentation. A lot of people have found those useful in the past, and I recommend you take a look because it kind of just gives you an idea of sort of the high level format and type of information we're looking for. The other thing that's in there is this README file, and you should always read README files. And what this one will tell you was it'll give you a bit more information about the templates, but it's also going to tell you that in order to make things simple, rather than do the normal GitHub thing of sending a pull request and having someone review it and then approve it, we want to give all of you access to be committers. So all of you can upload your own presentations. In order to make that work, you need to become a member of the IETF Hackathon organization within GitHub. So you can request that membership. Barry and I, probably Barry, he's been quick to respond to those, can get you added to that group. And if you think you're going to be presenting, if you aren't already in the IETF GitHub organization, make that request sooner rather than later so we can get you added now and you just get your access set up and out of the way. Because if you wait until 2 o'clock tomorrow, things are going to get busy and something might fall off the table and we won't get you set up right. There's also some rules there, like we want to make sure we know who everyone is. So if you can, as part of your GitHub account, if you haven't already, make sure you put down the name that you go by so that we'll know who's who, and also enable two-factor authentication just so that we don't, we get a little bit more security as to who we're giving right access to the IETF Hackathon org. And if you have any questions about that, you can come see me, you can come see Barry. One other thing I want to point out is we're really trying to advance the pace of the work we're doing, right? And so a lot of this is about code, and many of you, thankfully, for your projects, you have links to the code, where to find the code associated with your project on the IETF Hackathon Wiki, and that's fantastic. But for those who aren't here, those who are going to go and read the drafts and the RFCs, we want them to be able to find that code too. So this related implementations, this is something great that actually the tools team, and I forget if it came out of a code sprint last time, but it got implemented by some of the same folks. They enabled this functionality in us where you can make use of this additional resources. If you go to the data tracker, you'll see something called additional resources. And I've used that before to associate, to tell you where my draft is in GitHub. But now there's a new thing called related implementations. And you can use this to indicate where code related to that draft is associated. And you can put one or more of these depending on if you have more than one code project. But if you click on edit, it'll bring you to a page like this. And sorry, it's a little small, but you can download these slides and see it a little bit better. And you can add in one of these related implementations and then the address of where the code is and a little text description. So it's really handy. It helps people find code related to the draft that you're working on. I think this is great functionality. I would really recommend and ask that you make use of it. And hopefully we get people more accustomed to this idea of there being running code associated with drafts and with RFCs. I think that would be fantastic. Okay, just a couple more things. I mentioned the hackathon ends at tomorrow afternoon, and we have these really short presentations. Well, if you want to give a more extended presentation, if you want time for like engaging with the entire IETF community, not just those in this room, and you want more time, we have this thing called Hack Demo Happy Hour, and that will be Monday evening from 5:30 to 6:30. You can sign up. It's actually in this same room. This is Liberty A. It'll be in this room. We'll have tables set up. You can have demos of your project, and you can really engage one-on-one with people for longer periods of time, right? So you can have that more in-depth conversation that you weren't able to have during the 4-minute presentation. So I recommend you take advantage of that. If you are interested in doing that, just let us know anytime starting now until noon Monday, so that we make sure we have enough tables set up to accommodate everyone. And then one more thing, also in this same room, all week you are welcome to come down here and work on your projects. There'll be some tables set up. They might be in a different arrangement than they are here, but you're welcome to come. There'll be power. There'll be this set up so you can all gather around a table and work on your projects. There's a schedule, so you can not just reserve a table, but more to advertise to people. Hey, we're going to be in this room at 12 o'clock from this time to this time, so that they know they can come and meet you here. And that's a really handy thing to be able to do too. So it's not like when the hackathon ends, you can't work on your projects anymore. And then I definitely want to thank our sponsor, CNNIC. Obviously, it takes some financial resources to put these things on, the food, the space, and we thank CNNIC for helping us. The t-shirts cost money to produce too, so we have a lot of costs, and so thank you to CNNIC, and I would encourage others, if you have the ability, talk with those within your organization. We're always happy to have more sponsors and looking for more sponsors. And with that, any questions? You can, of course, come see me anytime because I'll be floating around here. But if you had any questions or anything you wanted to share with the group before we get started, we do have a microphone there. Okay, well then, thank you all for your attention. I really appreciate it. I know you want to talk to everyone and get working on your projects, but thanks for helping me get through all that, and hope you have a great hackathon and a great IETF meeting. Oh, sure. Here, let me put this back on. Yeah, the IETF network. It's not like